I asked Kurt, I said, does this still manifest in your life? And his response was, yeah.
It's part of the lesson of, just focusing on the day-to-day and little by little just improving as best you can, and then in the end, great things can happen, but you can't focus on wanting the great things from the beginning and just kind of working with that in your mind. You just have to work on just getting a little bit more powerful, a little bit better every day.
So I asked him for an example, and he said, well, this guitar...
Things like that, like the Crossroads, that happening to me is like that, things that you don't expect happening because you're focusing on the day-to-day things and just increasing your thing.
So here are all these like huge monster guys like Jeff Beck on this 2-night guitar extravaganza. And Kurt plays the first night. Actually, the first night and the second night. I said, wow, how did that happen? So why don't you tell us how that happened? How Eric Clapton knew about you and wanted to invite you?
Well, I was just doing my thing, and we got a message from his office saying that he wanted to come down to the Village Vanguard, and we were playing there, and so he came down and with his friend Russ Titleman, who's a great producer, produced Shaka Khan and a lot of songs that you probably know. They came down, they were totally cool, and I was very surprised, and but it turned out that Clapton had been aware of my music and was in the neighborhood, he knew he was going to be in town, so he made arrangements to come down and check me out. So we met, and there was a really good vibe between us, and we kept in touch, and sort of got to know each other a little bit through communication, email, texting, and stuff like that. And it's too loud. Oh, okay.
Super sensitive.
So it was cool because I felt like I was just making a new friend, and the fact that he was Eric Clapton, every once in a while I kind of call him fan. But he was very cool. He's a very cool guy. He's very obviously actively listening to new music and checking things out, and that's how he became aware of me. And so then at a certain point, he asked me to play a segment in his Crossroads Festival. And that was a huge honor because it's 2 nights, and the list of people is a who's who of really icons in blues and rock, and I think I was the only jazz. I was the only jazz person there, and it meant a lot. It was great, and so we played 25 minutes. Yeah, that was like most people. There were like some people played 5 minutes, some people played 10 minutes. The meat of it, like the most, except for like the big, like last groups on both nights, they played 45 minutes. Everybody else played at the most 25. So I got 25 minutes, and we were talking about, who to play with, because the idea of Crossroads is like a sort of, it's a benefit concert, and it's it's a way for, it's a moment where people can just play together, you know. So yeah, the spirit of it is to, like, you know, get up there with, you know, people that you can share the stage with that you ordinarily wouldn't, you know. So he asked, who do I want to play with? And I said, Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck. And he said, well, Jimmy doesn't do it, but Jeff Beck, he might do it, you know. And I said, okay, well, maybe Alan Holdsworth, because I love Alan Holdsworth. And he said, okay, cool. So he got in touch with Holdsworth, and then Holdsworth said yes after saying no.
Oh, he twisted his arm, huh?
That's not a story. I won't tell that story. But Jeff Beck, I talked to Jeff on the phone, and he was like, well, I guess, yeah, I'll do it. You know, I don't have no idea, you know, what we're gonna play. You know, some Charlie Parker or something. I don't really know how to play that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, don't worry. It's not gonna be Scrapple from the Apples. You know, so let me send you my CD. You know, we'll do that. But in the end, Jeff Beck didn't do it, but because he didn't do anything except for his thing. He's a kind of a delicate kind of, I don't know, he's like, you know, he's a good particular guy. But so it ended up.
But how did it further develop? Didn't you guys start making lists of?
Well, we shared, yeah. Like the dude is so cool. You know, he such a genuine guy and very honest and, you know, just kind of deep guy. And so, you know, it was great. He was like very opening up to me in a way, and he was like, I'm gonna send you some music, you know, that I like. You know? So he like put together his like all-time favorite iTunes playlist of about, you know, like 25 songs or something like that, of all different stuff that was his favorite music, and he sent it to me as a gift, which was amazing. There was some really great stuff on there, and you know, and then so I reciprocated and sent him, you know, some of my favorite stuff. And so it's just kind of cool, you know, to get to know somebody like that.
Okay, now the final part of the story is you were in rehearsals, right? And do I have it right that Eric asked you if you had ever played a Strat? How did that happen?
Yeah, well, no, I told him at a certain point that I was like, man, I really, because it's true, even before this all happened, I was thinking about Stratocasters, and there's such different guitars, and I've never played Stratocaster before, so, but I kind of got it in my head that it started to become interesting to me, this Stratocaster. So I told, you know, when then I met Eric, and then I said, yeah, man, I've been thinking about that too, like, you know, playing a Stratocaster. I've never played one before, really, maybe 5 minutes or something in my whole life. And he was like, and then later so the second day at Crossroads, he was like, or his guitar tech came running up to me, and he was like, can you put your address here on this piece of paper? He said, Clapton wants to give you a guitar. I said, oh, okay, cool, wow. Oh, because, yeah, right, in rehearsal, he was like, come over here and to his room with his big rehearsal, all of his big rehearsal studio, his band was rehearsing. And he introduced me to his band, and then he was like, check this out. And he gave me he handed me a Stratocaster, you know, and I was like, man, wow, this is great. He was like, yeah, it's cool, it's, you know, Fender made it for me, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And then so I get a text the next day. It's like, do you want your... He was like, oh yeah, right. He was like, I was with him and his manager, and he was like, Kurt, do you want a new guitar or do you want one of my old ones? And the manager was like, so I said, yeah, I guess I want one of yours. So then I get a text later on that day, like, do you want it in Ferrari gray or Porsche Atlas gray? I'm like, wow, what is that? And so I Googled those colors, and they're actual colors from cars. And so it turns out, he gave me, I was like, I'll take the Ferrari gray, it was darker. And I'm like, and then so the next day he calls me back to his room and his assistant was like, Clapton wants to see you, he's really excited, he's probably more excited than you are. And we all went back there. I had some friends and they couldn't believe it. Their minds were blown anyway. And we came back and we were hanging out with him. He was super cool, totally great guy. And then so he gives me this guitar, and it's his a guitar that he's been playing for years. And the story is about the color is that when he bought the Ferrari, they gave him extra paint, and he took the extra paint and sent it to Fender and asked them to make a guitar for him with that paint. And he did that with both of those cars, his Porsche and his Ferrari. And so that's the guitar, and he signed it. It's,
Did you get the Ferrari also?
pretty cool. Yeah, that's what my parents were saying.
So the last time I talked to yeah, I'll take the Ferrari and not the guitar. You can have your guitar, but I'll take the guitar. The last time I talked with you, it was being mailed to Berlin, which is where Kurt lives, and obviously it arrived. And what was it like playing it? Have you been playing it?
Yeah, I've been playing it. It's great. It's a great act. It's like, it just exudes quality, and he has a different shape he has a custom shape to the back of the neck. It's not round, it's kind of a V. So, which is great because that gives you access over the neck if you play with your thumb, which he does, and I do too. So it's really comfortable to play, and it sounds great, and it also has like a custom thing where, it's usually the controls on a Strat, I think, are like volume, tone, and tone. 2 tone knobs, I believe. I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, I don't know play Strats really, but I think that's normally what they have, like volume, tone, tone, and then like a 5-way selector switch for the pickups. His has volume, tone, compressor on it, and so the third knob is a compressor. So it's a really good one too, and it just kind of beefs up the tone. So it's a great axe.
Have you? I think I asked you, what do you think is going to happen? Has having that guitar and working with that guitar opened up some new vistas for you as a guitar player?
No, not the guitar itself, but I think the experience I know the experience of doing that at Crossroads definitely, how would you say, like created a new awareness within me of what's possible in terms of playing for a larger audience, and just experiencing a lot of different acts over the course of those 2 nights, engaging with, sold out Madison Square Garden concert, and then also experiencing being on stage myself was a very valuable experience because it enabled me to sort of compare the two, my own performance and all of these other guys' performances where they're more used to doing that, where I'm not as used to doing that. But nonetheless, I'm still playing right now in venues like this, like anywhere from a jazz club to like 10,000 people in an outdoor concert, or 2,000 people in an indoor concert, or a intimate theater with 500 people. But indoor 20,000, I never did that before. But it's interesting to sort of to compare like your presentation and how you interact or communicate with an audience that large, and that's one thing that I came away with from the Crossroads experience with. And the second thing is also just that much blues, and being immersed in that much blues music, and it's not like I don't know all those guys already. I do, and I grew up with rock music, which is British blues basically, I've always loved Book of White and Son House, but there's not that much blues in my music, although with my last record there's more. And so the other part about the Crossroads experience was just kind of like digging blues more.
Falls away, I ascend to the celestial heavens, where I find myself sitting upon a throne among an infinite number of thrones extending in both directions forever. Suspended among the stars and planets, the view is spectacular. A golden lion with its back toward me stands guard. It's like a statue that then comes to life, turns its head back, and winks to me. Now I'm in a state of peace like I have never known before. Then I asked you, you said the thing about the dream is it didn't end. It kept going. There was a part of the dream that kept going. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well,
because there is no star. There is a star of Jupiter, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was in Tel Aviv at the time, and I had this dream, and I woke up. I woke up suddenly, but I couldn't move for a little while. I think most people have had that feeling when you wake up and you're conscious, but you still can't yet move your body yet. You still kind of like your body doesn't know you're awake, but you are awake, kind of thing. And I had that feeling, and it was like I woke up a little bit scared because the kind of peace that I had in the dream was like a death peace. And it was like, the imagery was sort of like that, like, you go up into heaven or whatever, and you're, because you're dead, and there's, you see all the universe, and it was a winged lion actually in front, and it was so peaceful. And it was very much descriptive of different realms. Like it was like I was the dream began where I was in this earthly realm, and all the confusion and myriad forms of the miasma, of forms in this realm that, this shade, this hiding of the truth through the changing of forms all the time, and then everything fell away, and as it was falling away, I was handed this thing, and then ascended, and then so it was like a death kind of dream, but given like this key, and then I woke up like that, and the thing about it is that, I don't have dreams like this all the time. Yesterday I had a dream that a dog pooped in the road, and but this dream was really significant, and And then, but I didn't know what it meant because Star of Jupiter, what is that? Jupiter's not a star. So it evolved into this crazy thing where I tried to investigate what was going on, and then I could tell the whole story, but it's a long story.
Yeah, truncated.
Okay. I got these different pieces of information bit by bit. First thing was, Jupiter's not a star, but it was almost big enough to be a star. Playing the violin like he's always doing, you know. And I go out there and I see the star up there again, you know. And I'm like, God damn it, man, that star's been following me around for days, you know, all week. And he was like, oh, that's Jupiter. I was like, oh man. You know, so you can see how like the energy is just being charged, you know, in the whole experience. And I'm like, I'll be damned. And
so you would think that.
Well, it's not. Let me finish.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. One more event, and then the narrative is finished. So he says it's Jupiter, and then we're like, oh my god. So anyway, we finish the week, and then we drive up to the studio to record the album. We're driving up there. It's in upstate New York. It's in the country. We get out. It's 10 o'clock at night, pitch black. We go to a field. It's right there. We get out of the car, and the view is this rolling fields with Jupiter right there, like a picture book, you know. And then I kid you not, like this meteor streams across the sky really slowly with a green fire in the front of it, like I've never seen before. Like really slowly, you know. Like I'm used to seeing like zip, zip. Like, did you see that? Did you see that? You know? But no, this one was like. I thought it was gonna just go. And then I was just like, you win. Take me. And then we made the record. So that's why, you know, I had this song that I had been looking for a title for a long time, always trying out different things. And I couldn't find a name for this song, you know. And when I had the dream, I knew that the song should be called, that's the name of the song, Star of Jupiter. And we made the album, and this whole experience was part of the making of the album, and so I decided to call the album Star of Jupiter. That's the story.
I had a question. I keep hearing about a Kurt Rosenwinkel book. I was wondering if that was in the pipeline, or are there any plans to release a book?
A method
Yeah,
book?
a method book, yeah.
My manager's laughing to himself because it's always something that we talk about, but there never seems to be time to finish it. But it's finished almost. It's about 70% there, I guess. As the years goes on, the percentage gets less because I have to update it. But I hope to finish it within the next 50 years.
Look forward to it. Okay, another question.
Yeah, I was just wondering, who is like your biggest influence in music?
Well, I've had many influences. There's not one. There really isn't. You know, there's not one. You know, there's 200 or something. Really, you know, it's like, I mean, there are so many great artists who have come that, you know, we can listen to all of them, and when they're great, it's like they influence you, and it's just basically everybody, you know. There hasn't been one, you know. let me put it this way: there isn't one that I could say that would make you go like, "Oh, now I know where he gets this from." You know, it's like there isn't that. You know, it's like it's a myriad of different things that you get from different artists. You know.
Cool. One more question.
Hello?
Hello.
I'm Thomas, hi. So what are your non-musical influences and how do you incorporate them into your music?
Isn't there a better question?
I hope that's better. I was just curious about the composition process, like when you, like for Star of Jupiter, you said you actually already had the tune and then you, after the dream, you decided to name it. And is it like kind of the same or more or less with all the other tracks? Like something you don't have control of it, when it happens, or like there are times when you have like inspiration or a dream or whatever and then okay, I'm gonna write a tune about this, and if you do that, how do you do that? Or do you not do that at all?
What?
No, basically just your composition process.
I know. Uh-oh. I'm in trouble. Well, let me answer your question first, because it's easy because there is no answer to that question. You just, life, you live, it influences you, music comes out, I never do anything literally. Life is meditation, so. It all goes into it, living, like one time this guy, this 16-year-old kid, he was really eager and he had the chance to ask me a question, and my band we were at dinner, and he was like, Kurt, what scales should I use? What scales should I use? What should I do? And my bandmate, one of my bandmates, he turned to him and he said, buddy, you need to go down to Tijuana and get the biggest, fattest prostitute you can find, and go, It was like, sometimes it's about life and not about scales and stuff like that. That's the point. Very funny story, but he's got a point. It's like, you live your life and then it comes out through your music, and the deeper you live your life, the deeper your music will be, and it just happens like that naturally. About composition, it's kind of similar, I think, I never sit down to write a song. I sit down maybe because I think I want to practice, and then there's a song there or something, so then I'll just follow it where it goes. I feel more like an archaeologist than it's like me, It feels weird to put my name on to get all the royalty money, even though it shouldn't be anybody else, but some of the things, I don't feel like I wrote them, I feel like they were just there, and I developed them, or I found the B section over here at this dig site, maybe even 2 years later, and here was like, what is this? Oh, this is like an A section for a bossa nova song, and then like keep digging, you find like a C section for a rock song. It's like, and that happens in archaeology because everything's all mixed up under the ground, and that's the same process. I feel like I'm doing that, like digging away and finding things and then finding where they belong to, over here, and I just develop my skills as much as I can so that I can, quickly recognize what things are, and be able to work with them quickly,
Good. Hey, Kurt, how you feeling?
I feel good.
Yeah?
I like this audience.
You do? Better than me asking you questions?
Hey, I like you. All right.
Well, unfortunately, we're over time. When Kurt got up, he goes, so what's this going to be, 15 minutes long? I'm like, it's going to be 45 minutes long. It just kind of grimaced to like, are you really?
Yeah, the only dreams I was having last night were fever nightmares.
So, with that in mind, we're going to let Kurt get out of the hot lights. And when are you going back to Berlin? Tonight?
Tomorrow.
We're going to let you go home to Berlin to recover
Thank you.
and practice your Stratocaster.
Yes, that'll do. Thank you all.
Kurt Rosenwinkel. Thank you very much.